So yes, then let's go to the demo. Let's see, we have cancellation. Yeah, okay. Cancellation is also possible. Receiving results, I told about that. Yes. So I created here my new patient. I just close the current visit and start with a new one. So yes, I registered already myself. Here I select, for example, a relationship. Then I start the emergency visit. As you already know that. And then we go to the clinical. Go to the consultation tab. So nothing new here. And then we select, for example, here the panel. I will show the panel because it's more sophisticated. Yes. Then we can add here a note. For example, patient was fasting. And this is urgent. Okay, then we saved it. And sorry, no. And then in the background, like in the PACS integration, if you log into, sorry, the air is a little bit dry here. I proceed with the other thing. And then we see here we have used Mirth as intermediate integration engine. And we can see here that we received a new order as HL7 here in ORM 15.12, and we received this order here, hemogram without platelets. Also, here's the note, and we indicated that this is a panel test. Yes. Then if we go to our current LIS system, which we integrated, which is the Sena8 LIMS, we have then here our newly created sample. Then we included in the HL7 message the patient data, and yes, that is synced here, also the doctor. And then we can proceed with the normal lab process here. I will just fast forward that kind of, see the sample, add some results. And then now it's in the verification phase, but I can skip that. And also add here some interpretation. All good. Normally this is verified, but I can here now in pre-publish. This is automatically created by the Sena8 LIMS, but we trigger it in that way that we write an email here to a local postfix server for now. And this contains things, so for us, this is the trigger point. And then we use the Mirth to read that local mail and create a standard HL7 message and send it back to the LIS integration. So we see that here. It is written here, read here, and takes a little bit of time. Yes, you can see here the standard HL7 message with each OPX value for each test, each the value. And we also included the PDF here in base64 and the interpretation. And then if we go back here, we can see now we called this from the LS integration received the HSL message, and then we call the standard BAMNI API endpoints to upload the data here. And we also see the interpretation, and also the document is uploaded here from the message. Yes, actually, basically that was so far the integration. Yes, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. I think this is wonderful to see. Congratulations. And yeah, I'll reserve my comments, like, but just wanted to hear from others as well.
Yeah, sure. We're very welcome for feedback and participate in discussion.
Gurpreet, Akhil.
Yeah, I had a quick question, Johannes. So
Yeah, sure.
great demo. Thank you very much for the demo. Looks really good. It's quite seamless in that sense. I had a quick question around adding a panel or adding a test, new, like, in master data, when a new panel is configured or a new test is added, does that, how does that work with the bclims now? Do you have to add it first in bclims and also in BAMNI, or are you able to add it in one shot from here and it gets created there also?
Currently, this must be done on both systems independently. We thought also about that, but for now, this is the state. Now you need to add a panel in BAMNI itself, in OpenMRS, and in the backend, and then in bclims and Zenate, also a separate profile and add the new tests. So this is how we did it now. So nothing automatic.
And is case. That, and how do you resolve it, by name or like, some ID?
Currently by name.
Okay.
And we also needed to indicate it here, as you can see in the sorry, here. Not here, sorry. Sometimes I mess only up with the things. We needed to here indicate it in the H7 for now. This is an observation request, is a panel test, because actually HOPR is a service by itself, and with the target system must, in this case, the bclim Zenate must identify it as a profile, because we search by name. Yes. For now, we did it like that. Okay, it's a panel, then we request this endpoint, but this is done here in Mirth, not anymore in the integration.
Right. In the V2 ORM messages, can't you, instead of sending the name as well, I mean, can't you also send by the code? Like, say, if both systems use line code, can't you send the code itself?
Actually, maybe my colleague has this in his mind. Do we include also the line code now? I think yes, right?
Currently, it is possible, but in this demo, no, we don't have line codes, but it is possible. I think.
Okay, now we did not configure in this demo the line codes, but I think during development we included it in the message here. Yes. So
okay. So in that case, the MERT HL7 interface engine should be able to resolve, or like, or bclims, if it is compliant, should be able to resolve not by just by the name, by the code. I mean, if that is the primary code that is used over there.
Yeah, but this can be done in via API calls in Zenate. But yes, for now we did it by names.
Okay. Okay, so that's one part. Now, when you get the results back, I'm assuming, like, so you have used some trigger point, and you, as showed over there, you use like more like an email, which you said, like, you use a postfix server on the back, and you, like, from the MERT, for example, you have a connector which detects and probably identifies from the subject or something that what is the particular order, and
Mhm.
then it makes an API call back, like, to Bamni using the REST endpoints.
Mhm.
Would that be the
Yes,
uh,
here we see, I can show it to you. We see here, this is the email which is locally written. We extract basically only I mean, here in the email is also the attachment attached, but we extract only the ID from the order ID and then look it up everything, the correct information directly with the API from Senate. And then we build our standard HS7 ORU message here in Mirth and then send it to the LIS integration. Here it looks really like it's an overkill, but we, as before said, we built it with mind that we could exchange easily the LIS systems and have a standard communication interface, and also could also attach direct LIS systems without any integration system like
sure,
the MER. But
right?
yes,
Mm.
actually you summarize it correctly. We have here this trigger point, and then we look up the information, then we send it to send the HS7 to the LS integration. This makes the and goes to the Bamni endpoints. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we were essentially thinking in the same lines, not that, like, we were going to, so in our lab thought process, integration thought process, this is something that we wanted to do, right? One thing is, Bamni is able to expose, say, an order using a FHIR service request. At the same time, Bamni is also able to accept a diagnostic report corresponding to a previously made service request, like, using, say, diagnostic report, like, API, right? So that's on the API side that Bamni, like, one part that you need to do. The other part we wanted to achieve exactly like something like, what you have, like, because as you know that, I mean, OpenLS works for, like, labs which are willing to compromise on a lot of, like, as soon as you go to a little more advanced lab, or even anybody who has got any sort of a microbiology needs, probably is not going to choose, like, OpenLS at all, right? And some cases, as you just said, like, there are proprietary systems, there are different systems, like, which need to this thing, and for conformance, most of them would say we support either HL7 or ASTM, like, as such. So our thought process was to do that, move, like, between, like, say, Bamni and LS, we might still have the metadata synchronization, like, so as soon as you change certain thing, let's say from a panel you have removed one of the test, right? It should reflect over there, or if you create a test, it should reflect onto LS. So that is a different part of the metadata synchronization. But in terms of the order, service request, and fulfillment, we had a similar thought that it will go to an intermediate service, right? Right now, that intermediate service, like, you can say it is coupled with the OpenLS, right? It's just another, like, another library which is deployed along with our OpenLS WAR file. So our idea was to make this exactly like an intermediary system, which will listen to, say, any service request being generated from Bamni, post create an HL7 message, and our idea was to configure, maybe the other system accepts, like, a FHIR service request submission, right, or a particular task creation, right? In that case, it will go via, like, say, API. Otherwise, it will just drop a message onto the, like, say, Mirth as such, and then subsequent actions will follow up, right? If you're using Mirth, we'd expect that, like, comes through an HL7 interface engine, the messaging through some sort of a messaging, right? And when it gets back, it is do exactly like, what you guys have done, right? Post it back, but use it the, as we said, like, the fire diagnostic report API. So this was our thought in terms of incrementally moving over to a more of a standard based system, not just supporting HL7, like say V2 messages, but at the same time allowing for, like say, newer systems, which are like say more fire native systems.
Actually, we also thought about the fire process. I mean, we really can feel your thoughts. We had nearly exactly the same, but for our customers, where we sometimes deploy, they're kind of more in developing countries, and then the systems are not that modern. And then we also, in our experience in the company, we really had HL7 for us is kind of still the standard, and kind of fire is still not that widely used. And so we decided, so we searched for HL7 communication and we didn't found it. But exactly as for modern communication, fire is also very nice, but we saw the gap and we just closed it all for us, and then we wanted to share. Maybe someone else needs it, especially for a similar case. But yes, very cool also.
Yeah, so we would like to move there, and it's a great, like, and I also read that, like, your post that you'd like to contribute. Akhil has been, like, leading some of the thinking in this process as well, also talking to our version of the LS is also actually was forked from a time when OpenLS was sort of like dormant, right?
Yes.
So since then they have revived that, and they have added a lot of features as well. I mean, actually not so much of the feature, but technology upgrade. But recently they also worked on similar sort of a fire-based, like, workflows, right? So we were trying to see, because we would like to support, like, different, like, LIS system, right? We cannot be tied down. And honestly, the reality is this: there is no, no one, say, LIM system which is also open source and which is also, like, meets everybody's criteria is difficult, right? There was also a thought process saying, like, why do I, for if Alice is working for certain use cases, you keep using, while at the same time, if somebody is doing, like, say, microbiology, let them use, like, say, Senate or anything else, right? So we should be able to support, we shouldn't have to assume that there is only one system in the hospital or facility, because sometimes they just might use specialized lab system, right? Like, for example, there is a quite a common thing for many cases I've seen people use this microbiology system, which was developed by WHO. Actually, somebody from WHO had based it on his Access database, and subsequently, like, it just got popular and newer versions came out. But yeah, so that is our thought process or our current thinking. So if you are aligned, then I think, like, we can start, like, from what you have, right? And it will be great, like, if you guys want to, like, create a subgroup, like, anyway, Akhil is, like, quite keen on this, I think. Akhil?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is wonderful. Congratulations, Johan. And absolutely, I mean, if you're aligned and you would like to contribute, then definitely, I mean, we can form a subgroup and, take this forward to contribute this to Domain Info.
So
Okay.
Akhil, does it make sense in that case, like, in that case, like, you and others, like, who would be interested to start thinking about it, at least initially, that how do you want to do this? I think, like, what Johannes there have is a great starting point, right? I think we need to probably identify, okay, these are the bigger pieces, and we can move at different pace right? We don't need to solve everything at all, but
Right.
we need to figure out like, the approach and the design.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking right now is that definitely, I mean, this is a starting point, and once we form a subgroup, we can also decide on our pace, and I can also do a gap analysis on what are the features that we already have in OpenLS and versus this implementation of Senite. And if we can fill that gap using the community or or this group, then definitely that would be the ideal scenario. But yeah, we can work on it on our pace, and definitely a subgroup would help focus our work on this.
Right. So maybe, I mean, I would suggest that instead of targeting probably what you're talking about, definitely probably something that we want to consider, because we would not want to sort of lug around integration, out of the box integration with like, say, both LS and as well as LIMS, right? But but maybe something like, we start with, okay, can we make our interfacing and design flexible enough so as to like, we can support it. So if people want to hook in their own lab systems, etc., right, they can. While like, is need not be that Bamni out of the box from 9.4 supports it straight away.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Because then we just enable people saying like, listen, here is this one example, like, this is works, like, and or if you want to do something else, like, here is like, what you can customize. So you pave the way for others to start doing it. While like, slowly we keep chipping away in terms of like, getting a lot of other aspects that I talked about,
sure,
aligned.
Sure, definitely. We can take that route, but I'm just thinking that apart from OpenLS and Bika, are there any worthy, open source LIS systems to be integrated?
No. I mean, no, not like out of the box, but I don't want to rule out the part that like, people, there are lots of other commercials or non-open source solutions as well, right?
Sure.
So Bamni might very well say, this is what we integrate with. We integrate with like Senate, we integrate with like OpenLS. But at the same time, Bamni cannot say that, no, we integrate only with this two.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So I
that
think
makes sense.
Yeah.
We would very appreciate if you have, as you said also, Akhil, if you want to make a gap analysis and identify some things, that would be very interesting also. And yes, if anything goes forward, just contribute it. And if you decide, okay, that's good also for the whole ecosystem, would very appreciate it. And yes, everything. Thank you.
Okay, great. Like, so let's start this, like, this seems like, one other particular sub project, very like, aligned to start in 9.4. This was anyway on our, like, sort of like a radar. So awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Any comments from others? Michael, I'm sure like, this opens up a lot of like, other possibilities, like say, especially microbiology.
The comments are from Youngju at the moment. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so before we move to the other topic, Johan, are you on OpenMRS, Bamni Slack? So
on the Slack channel, you mean?
Yeah.
I think Johannes is not part of the Slack. I was there, but I don't think.
Currently not. I can create account.
That would be easier for us to communicate after this meeting. So I'll send across a joining link on the chat channel.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it would be good to set up Akhil one catch up with Johannes and others, Albion from the team, and as a subgroup decide maybe how to, like, what could be the way to coordinate and to communicate and work. It would be preferred
Yeah.
if a new channel could be created on Slack
Yeah.
for this, and then that could be a place to discuss, and others who are interested can join the same channel, and
Sure.
we could create a project page.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, on other engagement front, etc., please reach out to Gurpreet or any of us, just ping us, right? And Akhil and Johannes, I guess, you guys will figure out the next steps.
Thank you for the honor that we could present, and yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, and we are glad. This is something that I guess all open source projects live with. There are often more consumers than contributors, and we are glad. Actually, recently there has been 2 such instances, and both have come from ground implementations. Another came recently from radiology, right? Around integrating with primarily DCM4J, but very nice integration as well, and we are trying to see if we can do that. So these are great. We are very, very appreciative. I think yeah, and everybody, I'm sure, is over here as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Okay, I'll stop recording.